Hello my friends, and welcome to the next video in the series where we shall be discussing JavaScript constants. So we've seen ways of declaring and assigning a value to a variable. So we said something like let first name equals Dominic, like so. So right here we're having a variable declaration, and on the right we are assigning a value to that variable. So this is variable declaration and this is variable assignment. But we can come to the next line and reassign a value to this first name variable. So we can say first name is equals Ebere, like so. So what we're doing on this next line is to reassign another value, a totally different value, to this first name variable. Remember, this first name right here is the same variable here. So let's try to print the value of the first name to the console and see which one gets printed out. Is it Dominic or Ebere? Console.log first name, like so. So I'm going to save this file and open it up in our browser. So right here is our browser. I'm going to refresh. Okay, and we see that Ebere gets printed out on the console. Let's get back to our JavaScript code and see why. So Ebere got printed out to the console because the value was assigned on the next line. Remember, JavaScript is a scripting language, so it reads our code from top to the bottom. So on this first line, it saw that first name was declared and assigned a value of Dominic. But then on the next line, the value of that variable got changed to Ebere. So now it knows that first name is no longer Dominic, but Ebere right here on the next line. And so that is why Ebere got printed on the console. So whenever we're coding in JavaScript and we want our variables to change from time to time, then we should declare that variable with let keyword right here. But then in JavaScript, there are some variables that are constant in nature, which means that the value of such variables do not change. So for example, I'm going to use the const keyword to declare a variable called pi. So pi is equals 3.142. We know that pi in mathematics is 3.142 or 22/7. And the value of this pi does not change. So it is a constant. It will never change. But now let's try to reassign the value of this pi on the next line. So on the next line, I'm going to say pi is equals 4.12. So what I've done here is to reassign the value of this pi. Now I'm going to save this file and preview it on our browser. But before we go to our browser, let me console log the value of this pi and see what we get on the console. So I'm going to say pi. So I want the value of the pi to be console logged on our browser. So I'm going to save now and head back to the browser. So right here is our browser page. I'm going to refresh this page. So as soon as I refresh, you see that we get a type error, attempted to assign to read-only property. There is an arrow right here. I'm going to click it down. And then we can see that that error occurred on line 12 on our home.html file. And when I click on this, we see that this is the line where that error occurred. So what's the problem? The problem is that we tried to reassign a value to pi, and this pi is a constant in JavaScript. So variables declared with the const keyword do not get reassigned. All right, one last thing I want to show you before we get off this video is show you how to organize our JavaScript code better. Let's head back to our Visual Studio Code. So right here is our Visual Studio Code, and we've been writing our JavaScript code within this script stack here. But this is not a very good place to have our code like this, especially if we're going to write a lot of code here. So it's going to clutter everything. So what we can do is actually to remove all of this code within, okay? And then we're going to create a separate JavaScript file. How do we do that? let's go to our JavaScript Masterclass folder, and I'm going to click here to create a new file, and I'm going to call it scripting.js. So this .js means that this file is a JavaScript file, and so we can write JavaScript code within this file. So I'm going to paste the code that we had here previously. I'm going to paste it right here. So it still says const pi is equals 3.142 and pi is equals to 5. So we are still doing the same thing that we did earlier on. Now I'm going to save both files, Ctrl S, Ctrl S. All right. So now we have our JavaScript code in its own file, but then we need to link it to the HTML file that we have right here. So how do we do that? So we come to this script tag and add an src attribute. So I'm going to say src, like so. And within this double quotation marks, I'm going to give the link to this scripting.js file. And we can just simply type scripting.js file because they are in the same folder. So it's just a matter of typing out the name of our JavaScript file. And that way we have linked this JavaScript file right here to our HTML page. And we can write all of the JavaScript codes that we want here. So let me save this home.html file and save our scripting.js file. And to show that the code running, our JavaScript code is now running from this file, I'm going to console.log a message to the console that says this code is from our JavaScript file, like so. And I want to move this code up to be on top so that it gets consoled first. All right, so the JavaScript code right here will be read first and then followed by the next ones here. Okay, so I'm going to save this and then let's preview on our browser. So I'm going to refresh this page, and you see we first of all got this code is from our JavaScript file. So this proves that the file is now running perfectly. But then we still received the type error that we had initially, which is on this line. All right. So when you're using const to declare a variable, remember the value should not change. Otherwise you have an error. And so that, my friends, brings us to the end of this video, constants in JavaScript. Now in the next video, we're going to see primitives in JavaScript. Please remember to like my videos, subscribe, and share to your friends.